Okay, welcome to the deep dive. So we all navigate our personal and professional lives, right? And especially around the new year or maybe even just a new quarter, it's really common to find ourselves setting goals, making these, big plans, hoping for a fresh start. But the big question we're digging into today is, well, do our usual ways of setting goals actually work for us? Are we doing it effectively? For today's deep dive, our source is this really thought-provoking article. It's called Feeling Contented, All That Is Needed for Setting Right Goals in Our Personal and Professional Life. It came out in January 2020. And what's interesting is it's written by an IT employee, Sri T. So it's got this internal view on this drive we all have.
Right. And our mission today really is to unpack the core argument here. It basically suggests that the key to setting, and maybe more importantly, achieving goals that actually mean something, well, it involves a big shift. Moving away from what the author calls a rat race mind towards a contented mind. And this perspective, well, you'll see, it feels incredibly relevant today, in our super competitive world where the pressure is just immense.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Diving right in. The article starts with that familiar ritual. New Year's resolutions. It observes how people get really serious, beginning of the year, setting personal goals, professional goals, all hoping for a better future. It's natural, isn't it?
It is. But what's insightful here is how the source immediately connects this to, the wider world we live in. It paints this picture of life feeling all about the rat race, promotions, salary hikes, better living conditions. It's kind of like being stuck on a treadmill, isn't it? Always looking over your shoulder.
That's a great image, yeah. And the article says this rat race thinking often makes us set goals that are just about winning, crossing some external finish line. The problem, though, as the author points out, is this can lead to a really confusing situation later on. If you didn't quite win the race as planned, leaves you feeling like you failed, maybe, even if you actually made good progress. And then the source gives this really specific example, which I think grounds it well, from the IT industry. Talks about how lots of IT folks, when they feel they've kind of failed in that race for a promotion or a raise, they just quit. They look for a new job, hoping maybe that will give them a feeling of winning the race in a different way, like hitting reset.
Yeah, and you see that everywhere, right? Not just IT. This immediate reaction to change the outside stuff instead of the inside stuff, the mindset. And the article is really clear on this. It says, all this switching across companies when we fail to meet our goals is just a temporary solution. Mm-hmm. It's like a Band-Aid, basically. It doesn't fix the root cause. So it suggests that if we actually want a long-term or permanent solution, it's about setting right goals in the beginning of the year with a contended mind, not with that rat race mind. And this is where it really pivots, I think. Focus shifts inward.
Okay, so that brings us to the big question then. What does the source mean by being contented? It's a word we hear, but how does it apply to something active like goal setting? Especially when everything pushes us to achieve more. Isn't it just complacency?
Well, the source gives a pretty direct definition, actually, which helps. It defines contentedness as feeling happy about what you are today, which is part one. And most importantly, it is the state of willingness to accept something new with satisfaction. So it's not about just sitting still. It's more about having this stable, positive base from which to grow and facing new things with maybe less anxiety, more peace. And once you get to that state, that contentedness, the source says you start thinking with a clear mind about achieving your goals. Like all the noise from the rat race just fades out a bit, lets you think properly.
Right. And that clarity has real practical upsides, according to the article. A contented mind helps you figure out what exactly you want to achieve, your capabilities, actual time that you would require based on those capabilities. So it becomes about self-awareness, not just chasing external stuff, setting goals that are actually yours.
Exactly. And this clear thinking, the source argues, helps you set a proper plan in achieving the bigger objectives in small steps. Rather than, planning for achieving big in a short span of time, which is beyond your actual capabilities and the time available. So it shifts the focus, doesn't it? From did I win to am I setting goals that fit me and what I can realistically do? That's quite a reframe.
Yeah, it is. And here's where it gets really interesting. It leans into individual differences. It challenges that whole aim high, compete with the best mantra sometimes. The source makes this crucial point that everyone has their own capabilities, and hence the efforts needed and duration to achieve the same goal cannot be same for any two persons. It's basically saying, stop comparing yourself.
Absolutely, and that ties right back in. The source warns about not getting deviated and making our plans looking at others' achievements. It really hammers home the need to set goals with proper estimate based on our actual capabilities. And it's pretty optimistic, saying if you do that, you have high chances to achieve them. more likely to succeed on your own terms.
So, okay, the path seems clear then. Get contented, then set realistic goals based on you, not, someone else's Instagram feed or whatever.
Yeah.
But the article doesn't sugarcoat how hard that first step is, does it? Getting contented.
No, it definitely doesn't. It's very direct. It says all that is needed to do this proper estimate and planning is a contented mind, which is obviously the toughest thing to achieve in our current competitive life. It really calls out the difficulty, and if you think about it, our modern world is constantly throwing success images at us, demanding more, pushing performance. It creates this nonstop external focus.
Yeah.
It makes it incredibly hard to just quiet that noise and feel okay with where you are now. That constant more works against it.
True. But it does end on this surprisingly optimistic note, doesn't it? It encourages us. Let's be optimistic to achieve the contentedness in our minds for a better and progressive future.
That's a massive challenge, but clearly the author feels it's the most important one. So yeah, this deep dive into Sri T article really paints a picture of a profound shift. Moving from just chasing outcomes in that rat race to setting goals from a place of, a contented mind. It's about letting internal peace guide your actions, maybe. And maybe redefining what winning even looks like for you.
Definitely. So thinking about this, the source calls contentedness the toughest thing to achieve, right? Especially now. It leaves us with a question, maybe for you listening. What might be just one small, consistent thing you could start doing? Something to help cultivate that sense of being happy about what you are today and willing to accept something new with satisfaction. Just laying a bit of that groundwork for setting goals more effectively in a way that truly serves you. Something to think about.